Well, hey, everybody, it's Barry Clapman. I think we're up to number 20, and this is LinkedIn's 26 most asked interview questions. And this question, in a way, it's like all the others, it's open ended, as LinkedIn is calling it. Um, I think, I think many of these, of course, are open ended, but this one is tell me about a time you had to persuade someone. And LinkedIn discusses this. I'm actually going to read to you how LinkedIn talks about this again as an open ended question. And it is. But again, I think many of them are open ended. This question isn't open ended on purpose, LinkedIn says. It enables you to choose any point in time when you have to convince someone of something in a work setting. I don't necessarily agree that they mean it's in a work setting because I think you need to get context before you answer any of this. I've talked about that in all the other interviews. Maybe it means a work setting, but I think you ought to quantify that. In many ways, my first answer might be convincing my granddaughter to try to eat her dinner the other night. Maybe that's not what the questioner wants, but it first of all can open a dialogue, and you can also say, "I'm pretty sure you're not necessarily alluding to my granddaughter and me trying to convince her to eat her dinner, but I did have to convince her, and it's top of mind." That might open a dialogue, right? A stuffy interviewer might say, "Well, I mean more work," and get to answer that, and no problem. Again, it's still top of mind. So much of my particular belief is again going all the way back to turning conversations, interrogations into conversations, and the answer that I, which really was top of mind because it just happened to me. Um, it can be a conversation starter, and conversations can help you connect to other people, and connecting is the idea in all of this. Interviews are really, you know, people communicating with one another, hoping that there's some connection, this win-win connection. Everybody gets something out of it, what they want, and then they become successful. It's the premise of this book, Successful Interviewing. So it's certainly going to be the premise of the way that I suggest you think about these questions and think about how you want to present yourself and the answers. Um, and here, LinkedIn goes on to say this. Pardon me. It really boils down to this. Anytime you communicate, you are essentially selling, quote unquote, selling some idea which can be interpreted as convincing someone of something. Agreed. I mean, again, my adage is we're all almost always interviewing. Interviewing is a conversation, a give and take, a dialogue. Um, what's the gentleman's name? Chris Voss is one of the world's leading hostage negotiators. He says he believes we're in negotiations 7 or 8 times every day. He says we're in negotiations when we cross the street. You're trying to have this dialogue, this selling. Should I go first? Should you go first? So honestly, and people hate when I say this, but it's still my belief, life is about marketing and selling. So I think in some ways we're always trying to convince somebody of something, persuade somebody. Um, I'll cite one more source for you. And again, so I think that you need to think about all of this as it relates to you and your personality and your ethos and what you're trying to accomplish as you meet people at any point in time, doing anything. And if you think about it like that, in my opinion, you wind up connecting with more people. And some of these interviews don't become high stress, they become almost part of everyday conversation as you sit and try to learn to relate to people. Again, this is what I believe. And does it take time? Of course. But the more genuine you can be in all of your interactions, the better you're going to be when the lights go on, right? When the scoreboard is on. There's a gentleman whose name is Mark Joyner, and he wrote a great book called The Irresistible Offer. And he says essentially, whenever two people come together to conduct a business of any sort, whether it's multi-million dollar deals, this is written a long time ago, or where you and your significant other are going to go to dinner that night, um, the listener person who's listening, um, there's a tape whirring in their brain as you start to reply. Again, this is a long time ago, so we talk tape as opposed to digital recording. And we humans have this immediate um, reflex response as humans. You ask yourself, what's he selling? What's it going to cost me? Why should I believe you? And what's in it for me? This is human nature. So, in any dialogue, this is what's going on. You're thinking it right now as I'm sitting here trying to tell you this story. What's Barry trying to sell me? What concept is what he trying to sell me? Why should I believe him? What's in it for me to pay attention to it? Um, so anyway, this is human nature, and when you grok this, right, when you get it and you embrace it as reality, which it is, it's human nature. Two people or two or more people in an interview, they're just interacting. You'll understand. Um, you'll understand that that's really what everybody's doing, right? So I think we're always in some ways trying to persuade somebody, sell somebody something, even where you and your significant other going to dinner tonight. So I think if you understand that and you apply it to the way you handle all of these questions, you're going to be better off. Um, it's not nefarious. It's not evil. It's not manipulative. It's again understanding humans, right? And what people want and what people need. And again, if you can make these things win-win, what's in it for me? There always has to be something in it for the other side, and certainly there has to be something in it for you. You're going to wind up to be a far more effective interviewer. So I hope this isn't too abstract, but if you think about this, right, and you understand that this is not a board game, right? This is interacting with people, and human nature is human nature is human nature. That's what we're doing in these interviews, and when you get that, you start to understand effective communication because that tape. What are you selling? What's it going to cost me? Why should I believe you? What's in it for me? That's what's happening. Happens on your side, happens on their side. So whether it's this question or so many of the others, really try to grasp that this is, again, human nature. Okay. I hope this helps. Please ask me any questions, comments, concerns. Put my email in the notes. And I do hope these things are helpful. I think that's number 20. So we're getting down to it. And again, I hope these things are helpful for you. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.